Black and white thinking is like black and white TV. They're both obsolete. Subscribe. Click it. Hey guys, welcome back to 5nothing100nothing.com. I am Fuck It. It stands for the fittest underdog guru, using the old noggin, the intelligent tactics. All right, guys, let's talk about this. I don't know how to word this exactly, but black and white thinking. And so what I mean is, you know, there's right and wrong. There's the best, the worst. You know, it's like when a child is developing and they see the world as, you know, everything is black and white. You have, you know, this is the exact answer to a question. It's like very simplistic. It's very like surface level thinking. And it's really just a part of the development process where they're seeking to make sense and compartmentalize the world so they know how to survive in it. As you evolve, as you grow, things get a little bit more gray, right? You have a lot of qualifying questions before you can make a definitive answer. And the higher up you go, the more you learn that there's gray, a lot of gray, and there's not always the best answer, but there's a better answer. So the hardest part is when you come to that fork in the road and neither answer really is more appealing or attractive or a better solution, but it's just you've got to keep the machine going. So you take a path, right? And you're just not sure if it's going to be the best path, because both paths carry with it consequences. And some of them you don't like the consequences of, but you've got to make a choice. And that's like I think we're saying is like being caught between a rock and a hard place become ever so true and ever so real to you. So black and white TV, right? It was good. It was good while it lasted. And eventually we evolved to the color TV, and now you've got VR goggles, you had the plasma TV before, flat screens, gazillions of megapixels, whatever it is. I'll ask my techie nerd son to explain it to the old man, or I'll just ask my mother, Google. But you know what? It had its time. And as you evolve, as you go on your journey in life, black and white thinking had its time. Then you've got to move forward. A lot of multifactorial problems come across your plate. And some people evolve and learn. They develop self-awareness. They develop more intuition, more, I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say. I guess you got to be okay with things not being always clearly right or wrong. There's a lot of stuff in between. You know, you think about career choices you made, maybe a switch of career, or maybe a switch to another job in another company, or maybe another position in your company where you took a raise and promotion, but now you're in this new role that it's uncomfortable, it's not familiar, you can't do it like the rock star you were in the previous position. And so maybe you're feeling miserable about it, thinking you made the wrong choice. And you can look at it that way, but I don't think it's going to necessarily help your mental health, your psychological well-being. I think you have to look at it from this perspective. You have to look at it and say, okay, I made this choice. Let's look at the positives. I'm making more money. I'm being challenged. It's growing me professionally, and it's helping me to challenge and refine and buff out those weak areas in my abilities and my skill set. And you learn from things. And sometimes you're in a position where you can't necessarily change the culture of that industry, but you can learn from it, and maybe you can change it. But it's timing, right? It's political alignment, and it's knowing when, to execute your next move in order to get results. And that's very challenging. And sometimes there's times and seasons in an industry, in relationships, where you have to have some insight into whether that's going to be the right time to pull the trigger or not. And that's very challenging. And sometimes it's like a roll of the dice, and other times it's a well thought out, perfect planned strategy. But it's not easy, and it doesn't get easier with time. It's just something that sometimes you don't know what the right decision was, and it becomes in hindsight. This applies to so many things. I'm speaking in too many generalities on this video, but I'm trying to get my point across, and I think I'm doing so on some level. But at the end of the day, I think accepting that you're not going to ever live in an environment, especially if you're seeking out content like this, that goes back to the good old days or a time of more simplicity in your life. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be struggles. There's always going to be decisions to be made. There's going to be stress. Like when you work out and you're building a body and you get in great shape, what does that require? It requires maintenance. It requires continuous stress on the body, a refinement of diet. And, sometimes you can coast on results for a little while, but at some point, you got to remember what got you to the game. Just like in career, you got to think about what got you to the game. In relationships, you got to think about what got you to the game. What did it take? What were the essential steps that you needed to take? What was the work ethic? What was the attitude? What was the lifestyle? And that needs to, that's where you need to reflect. You need to think back and say, okay, well, what was the pattern? You make this great recipe, and, it can be replicated if you remember what you put in it. But sometimes ingredients are discontinued, or, the type of stove you have, or the utensils, or other things, or maybe the people you surround yourself with have a gluten allergy. You see how that covers the big picture of everything? Business changes. Industries go away because of innovation and new technologies. And all of a sudden, it's like the death of a salesman. You should Google that. Willie Loman, the salesman, who was past his day and was no longer relevant and didn't evolve or grow, or he was basically like the old horse in a barn that was really had outlived its usefulness and was ready to be taken out back to be shot. It's tragic, but it's the circle of life. As the great Elton John said, it's the wheel of fortune. The wheel of fortune. I never liked those game shows. Press your luck. Big bucks, no whammies, stop! All those things. Got into Jeopardy for a minute, but Jeopardy always made me feel stupid because I don't usually retain general facts about anything. I have very specific and limited information and vocabulary. So you gotta poke fun at yourself. So it's all about. Take care, guys. I hope this, at least in some way, entertains you. Take care.